So the cost of satisfying a complaining customer is likely to be less than the cost of losing the customer. So this is again a very you can say important made it like aim for you. So suppose a customer, because of dissatisfaction, he is not coming back to or you can say he's not coming up to the same product which you are delivering. So ultimately, if you focus on the complaint, if you satisfy the complaint which he has raised, he might not lose you might not lose the business through that. So cost of satisfying the complaint is less than the cost of losing a particular. So sometimes management will feel like, okay, spending this much on solving these type of complaints, like I'm talking about specific complaints wherein management has to have some additional cost to it. So what is happening, that particular cost is you have to understand from the business point of view that particular cost could be the lesser if it compares to that if you are losing that customer against that. So you have to make a decision that yes, you should spend on that. Like suppose you should change some delivery methods, or sometimes some particular terms and conditions, so that you should not leave that customer, but you have for that you can even markup in your cost. That is something different. Like slowly, if you have satisfied the customer after some time, they will be good, they will be happy to pay even more. So one thing is to maintain and then by that to become to come up to a certain level wherein you can also charge by your own this thing. So this is how you can operate in a particular model. Don't make promises that you cannot keep. Okay, so again, sometimes sometimes what happen in a uh, first time whenever you're interacting, you promise something which is customer is expecting something, and he's coming up with the number of requirements, deliverables. So and you are keep on promising on that, okay, this will be done, this will be done. Now you have, you know what exactly, like after that when you have implemented or executed, that time you have delivered 50% or 60% out of it, and that 60% is of good quality and at as per your best you can say standards. But ultimately, because of that small parts which you have committed as are not being done, or you can say you were not able to produce that or deliver that, those part will again raise or you can say leads to dissatisfaction for the customer. So write down what you have agreed to do and then do it. So this is like as you have mentioned, your contract terms are very clear. So in every business, it is very important to have a proper you can say agreement, terms and condition defined by which you can go ahead with the delivery. Now let's talk about customers' perspectives, perceptions, and expectations. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think, like in your before going ahead with the theory? So like let's target your you can say organization's customer, and what expectations they are having, what type of perception they are having for your organization, or I'll say the product which you are delivering, or what type of perspective you think the customers are having towards that product or your organization.
What I've seen is our customers are very pleased with the product's performance, if it meets the contract, if it meets the drawing specifications. I think what they're dissatisfied with is possibly that the variation of the product from batch to batch can vary results in testing. And if and what I've seen over the 6 months is sometimes the testing isn't identical. The testing we do internally doesn't match what the customer's doing. So it could be that at the beginning, the sales team didn't understand what the customer requirements were for testing, or over time, did our testing change at one site or the other? Did the customer vary their test, or did we vary our test? There's a lot of ambiguity in the unknowns. So, so trying to develop those positive relationships with customers, not having a complaint in for me to understand what else can we do differently. We do customer focusing surveys, and I also do quality focused surveys to try to improve what we're doing before something comes up that's negative. That makes sense?
Yeah, that is something absolutely right. So that is something like it should be very clear. Like you have identified the root cause. Okay. Now here the root cause was there could be two root causes. One is wherein the testing itself has to be standardized. Now if customer is testing on another different parameters and your testing parameters are different, ultimately because of that the perception which he's having in his mind, because as per customer he always thinks he is right. Okay, now you have to build that you have to bridge that particular thing, that like in your case what you are testing against, these are the these parameters, and again these are the parameters against which the product has been defined. So to avoid these type of expectation gaps or perception gaps, the clear communication should be there. And against that like again that communication has to be documented in a proper manner. So whenever you find out the root cause or we implement, so we have to document it or standardize that particular process. And against once the standardization is done, then you will see that, because when we see in even in manufacturing, it is very important to standardize so that each and every your problem statement was that different batch are producing different sort of like sometimes some batches are having like a bit, you can say, not of that quality standards. So you have to standardize everything in a such a way that each and every batch should give right results. Or sometimes there are customer customization also. So to maintain both the things together, you have to see how you can manage both the demands, your standard demands as well, for standard market demands, and sometimes the customized market demands from the customer. So accordingly you have to process everything has to be drilled down to a written paper or SOPs. So in upcoming slide you will understand what is the importance of SOP. Like even for this process of customer handling, we are talking about the standard steps. Like we have understood that you have to categorize your complaint at the very same stage. You have to see that whether it is a product related complaint, service related, and accordingly you have to focus on those area. So this is nothing but the standard of process like which we are following for this particular task. Okay. So the complainer may technically be wrong, but their perception is that they are right. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes what happens, complainer, because he is not aware about the technicality of that particular. Like in your case, you have mentioned that testing parameters or the product was not as per the expected level of like the variation in the batch. So, like some this particular technicality can be explained by the to the complainant in a proper manner so that his perception should change. Otherwise he will keep on having that same perception that there is a defect in the product itself, but ultimately the product is not defecting. The expectation is a different one. So you have to come up to a common page. Deal with facts and not opinions. So again, uh, whenever a complaint comes, mostly there is an opinion which everybody wants to build against that. So instead of building opinion, you have to see facts, or you have to see numbers in which that you can justify that particular complaint. Make sure that you have all the facts before making a decision. So like once a complaint is reached out, so you have to check facts. And whenever you're investigating, again that time also you have to see like in a particular manner, you have to quantify. So that is very important. You have to quantify with all the facts and figures, and ultimately to take the decision at the end. Understand that resolution is not always a matter of right and wrong. Sometimes you know that that complaint which has come from the customer, technically there is no resolution without paying extent. But to maintain that relation, to have that brand image, you sometimes you invest from your end to maintain that particular customer attached to you. So these type of you can say decisions through complaint resolution you have to make. So there is a particular thin line wherein you have to see from the management point of view, from the business head point of view, that what exactly the issue is, the reality of that particular complaint, and ultimately the resolution is favoring the company, you can say benefit or not. So now let's discuss dealing with perception. The customer perception of the situation may be much different from yours. Perception is closely linked with expectation. perception may have originated from initial contact, like with the organization, like more basically your you can say your marketing team. So first interaction of a customer with the organization is through the marketing team. Now the expectations which marketing team has set with the customer, that is something, the perception he will be carrying when you are executing, or you can say you are delivering that particular. So it is internally, it is very important for an organization to set expectations, or you can say have a proper communication in the initial stage itself with the customer, so that this type of gap should not come during the execution phase with the marketing materials, with customers, and with the product. So it usually starts from the, you can say, first thing, and ultimately your product at the end is also very important, and the perception from product also a customer can have, wherein the product quality itself is expected quality is not meeting the delivered quality. Yeah. Expectations are set the customer and depends on past experience, social culture aspects, and education. So sometimes, if you see, there are particular expectations which are mostly set by customer, that based on, like, some suppose there is a particular geo cultural aspects of that particular area, or socio cultural aspects of that particular area. So you'll find that expectation of those customers are aligned to that particular thing. Then there are certain past experience, based on that the expectations are set from the particular product. So you have to understand uh, what audience or what customers you are targeting, and accordingly you have to prepare your strategy. You cannot assume that an expectation is, you need to ask questions and listen to determine what exactly it is. So as a you can say uh, service provider, you should not only depend on, like, I'll just interact from the customer, ask question, and understand the expectation. You have to determine, like, from all the other aspects as well, like from the you can say past background, or from the past experience of that particular customer, like what type of you can say cultural background is coming up from. Okay, from the business point, like what type of other different you can say client was handling that particular customer. So all those type of other things also you have to look before finalizing the expectations. Facts versus feelings. Get the facts to handle a complaint effectively. Like, a fact can be a proven one. A feeling can make a huge difference as to how the fact can be interpreted. And an opinion is an interpretation of a situation. An estimate carries less weight than a fact. So when we talk about a complaint, mostly we have to figure out that in that particular complaint, what exactly is factually correct and what exactly is emotionally driven. So emotionally driven things are like based on the feelings, if you are having certain gaps in it. So you have to identify that particular opinion and the interpretation based on that particular situation from that particular in that particular opinion. So you have to differentiate that, and based on that you have to at the end you have to conclude through the facts. Okay, so through the facts you have to conclude your complaint. Okay. So till now, any queries or questions which you want to discuss?
I have no questions at the moment.
Okay. Okay. So till now we have just gone through the basics of complaint handling. Now in upcoming slides we'll understand the process in which you have to approach a complaint. Okay.